Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm going to give everyone just a moment, a couple more moments to join. So nice to see your faces, those of you that are joining via video. And nice to see your names and know that you're here, those of you that are not on video. Still getting used to the Zoom world.
Hi, I'm outside on a walk, so I didn't want to have my video on or my microphone, so that's why I'm muted. But thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So if you're not already, you may want to mute so that we don't hear your background noise, and then you can unmute yourself whenever you'd like to say something, or you can share in the chat box. I'll do my best to pay attention to the chat box. Just check. Looks like we've still got some folks connecting, so I'm going to wait about another minute. Okay. So if you haven't already, you'll see in the Zoom group chat that if you'd like to be added to the 360 Mindfulness Practice Group attendance list, you can send your name and email. And we're offering attendance certificates for people who attend 10+ sessions. So check in with the group chat if that's something you're interested in doing. And so I guess I should say I'm Kim Holton, and I'm happy you're joining us today. Lots of familiar faces, so it's good to be with you all. And I thought we would just have a pretty highly experiential session around the breath. And before we get started, a lot of the content I'll be talking about today comes out of this book. So can you see that book? This is the Breathing book. I don't know if you're getting, and there's the author. So that is, if you're on the UF Mindfulness Canvas group, that book is already there from a previous session I did, and I assume we'll get it back up for this session as well. So I think we'll start with the body, because the body is the container for the breath, and give ourselves a little bit of time to connect with the body before we move into breath practice. And then
you have audio, but you have image.
It's okay.
Was that a question for me or just something going on in the background? I couldn't quite hear.
That's me, just something going on in the background. Don't pay attention to me.
Okay. So if you will, if you're not already muted, if you will take a moment to mute yourself if you're not sharing or asking a question, that'd be very helpful for all of us. Thank you. Okay. So I thought we'd start with the container of the body and move from there, go through some practices together, and then circle back to the end, maybe sharing about your experience today, or maybe a breathing practice that you personally enjoy and would like to share with the group, or anything else that you might want to share in this moment today. So wherever you are, know that you don't have to look at the screen anymore if you don't want. Just kind of settle into your own space and get comfortable. So you're welcome to do this first little part. You can do it standing or seated. I'll let you know when to go seated. I'm going to stay seated, but you're welcome to stand if you'd like. And we're just going to take a moment first to get comfortable, whether that's standing or seated. If you're in a chair, maybe feet flat on the floor, finding a neutral pelvis, allowing your spine to sit comfortably over the hips. I just realized my email is on. I don't want you to hear that, so let me just take that off. Let your shoulders drop. And just feel into your body for a moment. If you're standing, maybe that means standing equally on both feet. Just take a moment to do a brief check-in. Notice how you feel. Let your awareness drop from whatever you might have been doing before you showed up on Zoom today. Bringing the awareness into whatever's going on for you right now. Now that you've taken a moment for that check-in, go ahead and let your awareness expand out into the whole of your body. And then just take a moment here as you feel into the body and see if you can feel the breath. And just take a moment to notice where in the body you feel the breath. Just a friendly reminder, there's no right or wrong about where you might feel the breath, just noticing what your experience is right now. And from here, we're going to bring in just a little bit of movement, because the whole body affects the breath. And we'll do just a little bit of release for the torso. Maybe release some tension. So wherever you are, just make sure you're not going to hit anything if you move your arms out to the side. And then just wait for your next inhale and bring the arms up overhead. Big stretch up. And when you're ready for the exhale, let the arms float down. And just do that a few more rounds at your own pace, whatever your breath is, letting the arms flow up with the inhale. Arms releasing down with the exhale. Keep going at your own breath. And we'll take one more round like this together, and the next time that your arms come down, just let them relax comfortably. Take a moment to pause and notice what you feel now. And then from here, whether you're seated or standing, you're going to lift one arm up only with your next inhale. And with the exhale, if you're seated, you can rest your hand along your seat or along the floor for support just outside of your hip. If you're standing, you can take your hand to your hip gently. So with an inhale, take one arm up. And then as you exhale, just take a gentle arc over to the side. And then inhale, come back up. And exhale, release the arm down. And then we'll do that on the other side. Inhale, other arm up. Lengthen the spine, and exhale, come directly over to the side. Doesn't have to be that big. Just feel an opening through your side ribs. Inhale, back up. And exhale, release down. And then again, find your own pace. We'll inhale up. Go back to that first side with the exhale. Inhale, back up. And when you're ready for that exhale, release down. Inhaling up. The exhale takes you over to the side. Inhale back up. And exhale down. And then just take one more round at your own pace. Make it feel good for you. And then whenever you finish that last round, take a moment and pause. Notice any shifts in sensation to the body, to the breath. And then from here, we're going to take an easy spinal twist. So if you're standing, you may want to take a seat comfortably. If you're, once you're seated, check in long spines. We always want to lengthen the spine before we twist. So again, we're just releasing tension. So only twist to a point that feels comfortable for you. We don't want to create tension. We want to release tension with this movement. So with an inhale, feel that gentle lengthening of the spine. And as you exhale, take an easy twist in one direction. Maybe your hand goes to the outside of your knee. The hand behind you can rest on the back of your chair, at the base of the chair, or along the floor behind you if you're seated on the floor. And we'll stay here for a few breaths. Check in, no need to force the neck or head. Stay comfortable with the head and neck. And with your next inhale, come back through neutral spine. Pause for a full exhale. And then we'll take a deep inhale again, lengthen the spine. Keep that length as you exhale, twist in the other direction. And with your next inhale, gently release the twist. Come back again, just pause. Notice what feels different now. Now that we've released a little bit of tension through the torso, let's do a little bit of work for diaphragmatic breathing, which is just one option for breathing. It's certainly not the breath that you have to do, but it's one option. And we're going to work on, when we tend to think about taking a deep breath, I think for most people, that's a lift in the chest, focus on the inhale, and then that's where the mind goes when we think about taking a deep breath. So here, we're going to focus on building a little strength to the diaphragm itself, so that dome-shaped muscle that sits there right below the lungs, heart sits right in front. And bring your hands now, we'll take the hands and take that part of the hand here, the index through the thumb, and we're going to place those on either side of your rib cage. So try not to go low on the rib, more towards the waist. Bring it up a little higher. Think bra strap region. I think regardless of your whether you're male or female, you know where the bra strap typically sits. So bring your hands to rest there. Your elbows will go out to the side. And then without digging into the soft tissue, the intercostal muscles in between the ribs, just give a little bit of pressure to that area. So you have some awareness of your side ribs. And then with your inhale, you're going to see about expanding your ribs out into the hands. So just to inhale, and instead of focusing on breathing up on the inhale, breathing out, expanding out on the inhale through the ribs. And then just let the exhale fall out. So we're consciously focusing on the inhale, just to strengthen our connection with the diaphragmatic breath. Take a couple of more rounds. So on the inhale, expanding out with the ribs. Exhale, notice how the ribs release back in towards the midline. A couple of more rounds like this. And last round. And this time when you exhale, just let the hands release away from the ribs and rest comfortably. And pause again to check in. Notice what you feel. And let's do one more tension release with the breath. So with an inhale, we're going to draw the shoulders up towards the ears without lifting the chin. And then exhale, let it go through the mouth. Let the shoulders drop. Inhale, squeeze gently. Exhale, let it go. One more time, inhale, squeeze gently. Exhale, let it go. And again, take a moment to pause, notice what you feel. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to walk you through the essential breath. And I'm going to take the practice directly out of the book today so that you know what it feels like to do this practice as it comes out of the book, so that maybe you want to access this resource for yourself as a home practice, since you might be spending a little more time at home these days. So before I do that, I'm going to read directly out of the book about this breath. And this is a breath that, the essential breath is a breath that I've been using for a couple of decades now, and it's one that I lean into strongly in my practice right now. And I've got to be honest, I've been a little anxious. I've had some trouble sleeping in the middle of the night, waking up, just feeling all that's going on. And this is the practice that for me, well, is essential. So here it is. And I'll read Donna's description out of her book. At one end of the spectrum is the unconscious, involuntary breath. At the other end is breathing that is controlled and regulated by the will, such as the classic breathing exercises done by yogis. Between these two extremes lies the essential breath, a conscious flow that arises out of the depth of our being and dissolves effortlessly back into our core. It arises from the background that is still and silent and dissolves back into the same stillness. To access this essential breath, we must first be able to focus on and perceive our own breathing process. That is, we must make the unconscious conscious. So check in with your posture again and just sit comfortably. You can also do this practice lying down if you choose. Or if sitting isn't comfortable and lying down isn't comfortable, you can also do this practice standing. So take the position that allows for you to maintain the natural curves of your spine. And then perhaps lowering the gaze without dropping the head, maybe closing the eyes or just softening your gaze. And then we'll come back as we've been returning periodically to the breath and just notice your breath without trying to alter it or make it different in any way. Just let your breath do what it will. Now slowly begin to rest your attention on your exhalation. And let your awareness travel down the length of the exhale. And continue to do this a few more times, letting your awareness travel down the full length of the exhale. Noticing the sensation of the breath as it effortlessly leaves the body. Now take a moment to get curious at the bottom of the exhale. What do you notice there? Can you feel that momentary pause that follows at the end of the exhale? And again, there's no need to effort here, no need to make that bottom of the exhale any longer than whatever the body wants it to be right now. Just simply relax and notice that moment at the bottom, at the end of the exhale. This is when the diaphragm is relaxed. So continue to follow that exhale all the way out and down. Simply relax. Let that little pause at the bottom of the exhale naturally happen. And as you let go into that restfulness of that little pause, you may find that with each repetition of the breath, that pause at the bottom of the exhale lengthens. And from that pause, you can just trust that the next breath can arise out of the pause without any need to grab for it. The inhale comes in with no effort. It arises spontaneously from bringing some awareness to the pause at the bottom of the exhale. continue to stay with your breath like this. Noticing the pause at the bottom of the exhale. Trusting the inhale to come in without effort. And we'll stay with this practice for just a bit longer. Simply staying with, being aware of the pause at the end of the exhalation. Letting go of any anticipation or projecting the outcome of the next moment. And you wait and see what the next breath brings. And at the bottom of that next exhale, when the inhale starts to come in, gently opening the eyes if your eyes were closed. And just take a moment to feel the body and look around your space wherever you are. Notice what might feel different now. If you took this practice on the floor, making a slow and easeful transition back up to sit if you choose. So this is a group practice, so I wanted to just pause here and see if anyone wanted to share anything about their experience with this essential breath. You can do that via the chat, or if you're brave and you want to take your microphone off mute and share with everyone, that'd be great too.
Relaxing.
What's that, Marianne? I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
Yes, that it's much very relaxed.
Very relaxing.
It's very peaceful.
Peaceful. Seeing those come through the chat as well. Calmer, yawning more, it seems.
I almost fell asleep.
You almost fell asleep.
That was very relaxing, Kim. It's really good to see you again. And are you going to be doing any Kundalini online?
We'll see. That is in the works right now, doing some brainstorming. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Just but nothing definitive yet. Yeah. Let's see. Felt your chest expanding more lung capacity than before, calming, centering. Yeah, this is the power of the exhale. There are so many breathing techniques out there, but it really doesn't take much, right? Just being with the breath, and especially in stressful times, this is a way to bring in the relaxation response simply by focusing on the exhale. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just connecting with that pause, that stillness, that silence, that deep centering that comes. Let's see, we're getting some more shares coming in. Thank you. I've never focused on the exhale. Definitely relaxing. Some awareness of your breathing pattern. So are there any questions?
This isn't a question so much as a comment, Kim. As I noticed, well, one of the things that I thought, especially during the essential breath practice, was how appropriate that groups like this one could have a community of breath at a time when one of the, extreme symptoms of COVID-19 is struggling with the breath, and that it was adding so much more power to what I was experiencing. So thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Kathy. Any other comments, questions? Anyone have a breathing practice that they engage in regularly they'd like to share with the group? Would you suggest counting for a length of time on the inhale or exhale? Okay, so we've got a question about counting the length of time on inhale or exhale. That is a practice you can do. Box breathing is quite popular, where you're counting the breath. So a 4 count on the inhale, hold for 7, exhale for 8. But that's a focus on retention on the inhale. And in my experience and what I know about breathing practices, sometimes that can elicit more of an anxious response, because you're holding, you're gripping on that inhale. So if you can let that inhale stay relaxed, then that can be a really helpful practice. But I find a lot of folks, when I've worked with them on that box breath, they'll tend to work really hard and retain the breath, squeeze it all in, right? And but what is really good about that box breath is that the exhale is double the amount of time of the inhale. And you'll see that a lot in yogic practices for stimulating the relaxation response, that you're focusing on lengthening the exhale maybe twice as long as the inhale, as a more relaxing breath rather than an energizing breath. Typically, breath retention on the inhale is going to be energizing. Breath retention on the exhale will be more relaxing. But if your breath retention on the exhale and then you're working hard to hold the exhale for longer than is comfortable, that starts to elicit a stress response. So it's a balance. That's why I like this essential breath. It's really just being kind to the body. And when you think about it, the diaphragm is contracting on the inhale and relaxing on the exhale. It's a muscle. And we know that the breath and our mental state of being are tightly linked. Right? So this is a way to, if you're never letting the exhale come to a full exhale, then is your diaphragm ever fully relaxing? And then how is that affecting your mental state, right? So just like a muscle, if you're always tensing your shoulder and you don't know it, right? Over time, that's going to lead to chronic pain, maybe an injury, right? Same with the breath, letting the exhale go completely gives a chance for the diaphragm to relax, the mind to relax. So I think that's, there's that mind-body connection there. So beautifully and easily seen in this. Let's see. I do the same, but outside with some sun to soak in. Yes, so the numbers were 4, 7, 8 for box breathing. And for those that have a really active mind, it can also help to just label too. When you're breathing in, label in. When you're breathing out, label out. That labeling can really help a lot if your mind tends to be quite active. Okay. Any other shares or questions?
I would like to say actually this is the first meeting I've ever joined, and it's really good to relax and just let loose a little bit. I do a lot of like mindfulness, different like online on YouTube, they have different guided meditation and stuff to help calm your breathing. They have for different things, and this really helped me, calm down and relax, because I'm usually a very anxious person. So, the breathing is very important. And actually my mom got me into it because she's a therapist and she works a lot around like meditation and mindfulness. So I'm really glad I got to experience this, and you're a great instructor.
Thanks for joining. Does anyone else feel like they have a lot going on in their head lately? A lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. So I wanted to share one more, and I think we did this one in the last session with UF Mindfulness when we focused on breath, and this is another one that I love for sometimes my mind is just going too much that it's hard to drop into this essential breath even. And so my quick trick is to do a few rounds of this breath before I go into essential breath. So I thought I might share that one too in case anyone else gets a particularly chatty mind. And this one works with sound, and some of you that have practiced with me in the past will know this one. So this is Brahmari Pranayam from the yogic tradition, also called bumblebee breath. And I think I've shared this one with those of you that have joined me for UF yoga classes. And it's a great one to do with kids as well. So if anyone's at home with kids that are no longer in school right now and you need some breathing practices to do with this, that can be helpful. So this breath, I'll just demonstrate before we all try it together. And so you're gonna close off the little flaps of your ears here with your thumb, right? And then traditionally this practice is done when you cover your eyes too. So you're closing out your ears, you're closing out the eyes. So we're decreasing the senses from the outside, right? So that's what it looks like. And then when you actually go into the breathing practice, you take a breath in through the nose, and then you hum out on the exhale. So keeping the mouth closed, you just hum, like everyone knows how to hum, right? And then you can vary the pitch of the hum and move it around so you feel it in different parts of your head. So it vibrates up in the head, and that sound and that vibration helps to relax the mind and get you out of if you've got a lot of incessant mind chatter and you can't even get to the point of doing this more silent practice. This is a nice way to bring in sound to help the mind let go. So shall we try it? Okay, so let's, how about we all do, because once your ears are closed off, you don't know we're done. So why don't we do 3 rounds. Let's just go for 3. So you'll take a breath in through the nose with the ears closed off, eyes closed off, and then when you're exhaling, it'll be a right? And you just exhale just like we just focused on the essential breath. Long exhale. Bottom of the exhale, notice that pause. Take a deep inhale and then repeat. And we'll do 3 rounds together. All right, here we go. I see some shares coming in on the chat board. Please feel free to share your experience on that one. Love the humming vibrations in the head. Super relaxing. Anyone feel the vibration outside of their head and other places in the body? Vibrations release tension of the muscles of your face. Yeah. Changing the pitch up and down. Another vote for changing the pitches. Yeah, it makes a big difference. Yep. Yes, sound is powerful. Mm-hmm. All right. So another easy trick to slow the breath down, which we know stimulates the relaxation response, is to only breathe through one nostril. Right, that will naturally slow the breath down. So I know some of you out there have practiced alternate nostril breathing before. You can also breathe through a single nostril. And so when you breathe through the right nostril and close off the left, that's going to stimulate the left side of the brain. And when you breathe through your left nostril by closing off the right, that's going to stimulate the right side of your brain. So you can also use that as a self-regulation. Let's say you want to practice on a creative arts project, then which side of the brain do you want to stimulate? You can breathe through the opposite nostril. And that's from an ancient yoga practice, but it's also been proven that with neuroscience now, we do see that it creates more activation in the left or right side of the brain, depending upon which nostril you're breathing out of. And for most folks, but not everyone, you typically have a natural cycle of breath where every 90 minutes, one nostril becomes more dominant than the other. So that's another fun way to explore your breath and check in, see if you can tell which nostril you're breathing out of more in the moment, or are you balanced in that moment. So any other questions, thoughts? We could keep talking about all different kinds of breathing techniques, but honestly, from a mindfulness standpoint and from a self-regulation and relaxation, the essential breath to me is where it's at. And then there are a lot of opportunities to get yourself to the point that you can really drop into that full essential breath. And this book, one of the reasons I love this book so much is that, you know, the breath is a whole body experience, and it really does give a lot of exercises that you can do to explore your own breath and where you may have some breathing patterns that aren't serving you so well, or tensions in the body, and ways to release tension in the body with the intention of creating a more functional breath for your own health and well-being. So any questions? Anyone want to share anything? Okay. Well, I know naturally our focus is on the breath a lot these days, and the shared air that we breathe and our connection to one another. Hi, Erin. Okay, so request to recap the essential breath one more time. Sure. We could also do another short round of the essential breath if people want to guide you through. Any thoughts on that? I want to hold up the book one more time. And I can write it in the chat as well, but here's an image of it. Hopefully, can you see that? And then I'm going to chat it in here, put it in the chat as well. Ebook. And it's an older book, but it's still out there. You can still get it. Okay, so recap of the essential breath is really just focus on the exhale. Follow the exhale out and down. No need to force the exhale to be longer than what it naturally is. And simply by cultivating awareness on the exhale, noticing whatever pause, whether it's short, long, whatever that is for you at the bottom of the exhale, noticing that pause, cultivating awareness of that pause, and then letting the inhale naturally arise from that pause at the bottom of the exhale. And without trying to force it, the intention is not to slow the breath, but what naturally happens is the breath does start to slow down and become more easeful. So I would say that's the short recap of the essential breath. Oop, I just realized that I put the title in a private message instead of everyone message. Let me do that one more time. Sorry about that. On a learning curve with Zoom. There we go. Now you should all be able to see the title of the book that I mentioned, yes? Okay, awesome. Well, anyone else have anything to add before we kind of close out for today? Any announcements from the UF Mindfulness team for the group?
Maybe I can add the next session is next week. Same time, Monday, 5:30 to 6:30. Yeah, please come back.
And the same Zoom link, yes?
Yeah, it's the same the whole semester. Yeah. And until the end of the semester, we will do Zooms, so we will not meet face to face. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I thank you all so much for being here. It's lovely to share space and practice together. I've really been missing my yoga and mindfulness community. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kim.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to see you all the way from Colorado.
I didn't see who was speaking on that one. Is that Erin?
That's Erin, yeah.
Hi,
Erin. This is really excellent. It's nice to see you. Yeah, we moved here 2 years ago, so I'm happy to see you.
Aw, thanks for joining.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Kim.
Take good care.